A warm welcome to Vision This Week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi. The recently launched Nigeria visa policy is intended to attract innovation, specialized skills, and knowledge from abroad to complement local capacity. The enhanced visa policy comes on the back of the signing of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, a treaty seeking to establish a continent-wide marketplace with increased trade and freer movement among its major economic powers. The new visa policy is our focus, plus a special report on the visa on arrival process at the Lagos International Airport. First, the launch of the new visa policy.
This is the formal launch of the Nigeria visa policy by President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House in Abuja.
The Nigerian Visa Policy 2020 is intended to attract innovation, specialized skills, and knowledge from abroad to complement locally available ones. I am confident that the implementation of the Nigerian Visa Policy 2020 will support the attainment of a globally competitive economy for Nigeria by building on the efforts of the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council.
The purpose is to attract more foreign direct investments into the country's economy, which would in turn provide jobs for the people and lift the nation's teeming population out of poverty. The new policy has 79 categories, which include health, education and tourism. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, National Intelligence Agency and the Interpol also made inputs into the system and would be carried along in the processing before approvals.
Migrant information and that analysis is in all our airports. What does it mean? It means that whoever visits Nigeria will have his biometric taken. All your fingers will be taken. And immediately that is done with what he told you about of I-24/7, Interpol 24/7. You are immediately exposed to the database of Interpol. And everything about you, if you have a criminal record, universally, is exposed.
You can take your bag and come to Abuja airport or any of the 4 airports. You will get a visa at the point of entry. And we have explained that this visa at the point of entry is stronger than the visa you can get at other missions, because we have only 18 biometric issuing centers in the world.
The new visa policy provides an avenue to achieve African integration by the introduction of visas on arrival for short visits to Nigeria for holders of passports of African Union countries. This is the visa on arrival section at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. Before the President's recent announcement to allow visa on arrival access for African Union member countries, the airport had been issuing this to high net worth individuals for about 2 years, and the man in charge explains the difference.
Before the Mr. President approval, all people that want to come to Nigeria on visa on arrival will apply on our website. But with the pronouncement of the directive of Mr. President that all African Union members should come in on visa on arrival, meaning they don't need pre-approval to come to Nigeria. They'll just take in their bag and their passport, embark and disembark, and the process starts here.
The process to get a visa here usually starts outside the country for businessmen. Upon arrival at the port of entry, officers will conduct an approval verification and biometric enrollment.
As the passengers arrive for visa on arrival, they first of all present their passport, the arrival card which they fill by themselves, and then their approval letter, visa on arrival approval letter, plus the payment slip. We confirm the genuinity of the approval letter, then push it to our partner for enrollment.
When passengers come in, they bring out all their paperwork. The immigration officers check them, the genuinity of their paperwork, and they pass it to us. We verify on the system. We have the verification and the enrollment system. We verify to be sure that is the person, the documents belong to the person that gave them to us.
And then, the issuance of the entry visa. Some passengers describe their experience.
Visa on arrival is nice thing. Even before also I come, now the process is much easier and simpler than year before even. Year before I have spent 2 hours here, but now I think it will take hardly 10 minutes. So its process is very simple, and for a businessman like us coming to Nigeria, it much more helpful than before.
I'm visiting my parents. My father works here in Nigeria, so I'm visiting them. Actually, it's my first time, and it's very simple. It's only taken, I think, 5 to 10 minutes to get the whole processing work done, and there's been no hassle.
With over 33,000 visas issued in the last months, the ease of doing business is getting a boost.
Why the visa on arrival is very, very important is to attract investors into the country. Visa on arrival negate what we call third country visa. What I mean by that is, if a foreigner who intended to come to Nigeria came into Benin Republic on visit, he is not entitled to be issued a visa in our mission there. But with the advent of visa on arrival to Nigeria, you can just key in into our website, apply, and get his visa straight to Nigeria. It favors people that want to come to Nigeria at a short notice.
As Nigeria throws open its borders in the spirit of brotherhood, it's important that many countries in Africa will do same in the spirit of reciprocity.
The coronavirus may be novel, but it already comes with a staggering 20,000 infections in China alone and at least another 171 cases in more than 24 other countries, and a global emergency declared by the World Health Organization. Many countries are designing strategies to deal with the spread. In Thailand, Thai Airways is disinfecting the interiors of all return aircraft to ensure passenger safety, as well as screening all arrivals from China for symptoms of the virus. Still in Thailand, but at the Suvarnabhumi airport, face masks and sanitizers are being handed to taxi drivers and other public transport drivers after a cab driver was infected by the virus from a Chinese tourist. The airport asked taxis, limousines and shuttle bus drivers to wear face masks during operating hours and to sanitize the vehicles while waiting for passengers to arrive. Before now, global carrier British Airways suspended all direct flights to and from mainland China as worries grow about the impact of a spreading coronavirus. BA's move followed some flight cancellations to China by US airline United Airlines, which it blamed on a sharp fall in demand. For Air France, its flight suspension to China comes as cabin crew unions around the world voice growing unease about the exposure to the coronavirus. Scheduled flights to mainland China have been suspended until February 9th after careful consideration of the developing situation. In Germany, more than 100 Germans and family members have landed in Frankfurt after being evacuated from the Chinese city of Wuhan for checks. None of the people on the Air Force aircraft had shown any symptoms of the virus. Many other countries have also evacuated their citizens. The action of countries banning flights is not going down well with the World Health Organization as China faces increasing international isolation due to the restrictions.
There is no reason for measures that unnecessarily interfere with international travel and trade. We call on all countries to implement decisions that are evidence-based and consistent. WHO stands ready to provide advice to any country that is considering which measures to take.
And here in Nigeria, authorities have announced a heightened screening at the 5 international airports. At the Abuja airport, cabin crew also faced the thermal scanners. And the Minister of Aviation lent his voice to the screening process.
Well, Nigeria as a country, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, since the Ebola crisis, we haven't stopped doing what we need to do at our airports to ensure that nobody comes in with communicable disease into our country. We have been alive to our responsibility. We've mounted cameras and equipment that will tell us the temperature of each and every single passenger coming into the country. And we have the port health in place. In conjunction with Ministry of Health, we've been doing what we need to do to ensure that nobody pass through with a known disease. And we are doing public awareness as well, talking to the passengers, giving them flyers and making sure that even if they leave the airport and they go home, 2-3 days afterwards they fall sick, we give them numbers of hospitals where they should go.
In Lagos, the country's commercial nerve center, the screening is ongoing as passengers arrive in the country in their numbers, and those coming from China are not left out. The airport health emergency team is also meeting to re-strategize in line with the Lagos State government's plan.
The state is very proactive, and this plan is to ensure that they partner with the federal government in safeguarding the state and also the country. So this point of entry is going to receive some assistance from the state government in terms of manpower to man the point of entry to ensure heightened surveillance is carried out.
As authorities in Nigeria make concerted efforts to keep the virus away, many are hopeful that their actions will yield positive results.
We've got all the ground staff up. Are you happy for us to close the door?
Following a similar flight from New York to Sydney last month, Qantas Airline has completed a near 20-hour non-stop research flight from London to Sydney in the face of its desire to order planes for what will be the world's longest ever commercial route to witness 2 sunrises. The chief executive officer of the airline shared his view on board the flight.
So our intention is to have a bigger sea pitch in economy than we've ever done before, have dedicated stretching areas in economy. So it is a very designed product for long-haul travel like Sydney-London and Sydney to New York. We're particularly designing the product for these ultra-long-haul sectors. Already on Perth-London, in our economy, we have the highest satisfaction levels in economy of any route on our network. We're aiming to do that on the ultra-long-haul flights as well, and we think given the unique IP that we're developing, we absolutely can deliver on that.
The London-Sydney research flight was operated by a Boeing 787 Dreamliner with 50 passengers on board. The plane also had fuel remaining for roughly about 1 hour 45 minutes of flight time. 6 people in business class wore devices that would allow researchers to analyze food and beverage intake, sleep patterns, lighting, physical activity, and in-flight entertainment to assess the impact on health and well-being. Pilots also wore electroencephalogram to monitor alertness and brainwave patterns.
And what we've done basically with this team, multidisciplinary, across physical activity, exercise, nutrition and chronobiology, is to design 3 very important things on the flight. First, the lighting, then the meal schedule and the meal composition, and physical activity on board.
If Qantas goes ahead, the route will be launched in 2023. The Air Force mans the Muritala Mohammed International Airport access gate. It's the fallout of a feud between 2 parties, the 3 aviation unions in the industry and the concessionaire iCube West Africa. A day earlier, the union had taken over the gates, putting staff of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria to collect toll fees, saying the concessionaire's contract was over. According to a media representative of the company, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria signed a contract with it, and 1 year after the contract lapsed, the Airport Authority is yet to terminate the written agreement, and it has to take care of what has been handed to it.
5 a.m. The fan staff were on duty manning the beat at the toll gate here, but from nowhere, the concessionaire IQ came here with some thugs, about 70 in number. They started beating the staff on duty. The ones that are wounded, we have taken them to the clinic at headquarters. As you can see, we are losing revenue. Federal government revenue is going. Nobody is manning the beats. The police are here, Air Force are also here, monitoring what is going on. On our side, the labor is on ground, waiting for fund management to do what they are supposed to do with the concessionaire, so that the Air Force and police will equally to be communicated on the decision. Our staff are here waiting to man the beats back.
Yesterday, we made all frantic efforts to reach out to the management of FAN, and they denied knowing anything with respect to the people that took the gate over, and that they were still going to collect their monthly revenue as stated in the agreement. So we held a meeting yesterday, and what happened was we had to beef up our security, and we wrote to them. This is a copy of the letter written to FAN, MD of FAN, copied the Commissioner of Police, Director SSS, Airport Commandant. As long as they have not terminated the agreement, the assets, lives and properties are still within our care, and we have a mandate to make sure that it is protected.
Much later, the management of FAN temporarily took over the toll gate, asking the concessionaire to vacate until a permanent solution is found. The Nigerian Air Force has accepted back into service another C-130 Hercules aircraft, NAF 913, after a successful periodic depot maintenance within the country. The Air Force says this is part of its efforts to boost its airlift and combat support capability for the armed forces operation across the country.
In the course of the PDM, we also rectified some delayed discrepancies as well as accomplishing some service bulletins. The 4 phases are: Phase 1, which was acceptance and docking of the aircraft. Phase 2, removal and inspection of parts. Phase 3, repair and rectification of snags. And the last phase was installation and operations of the aircraft.
At the 631 Aircraft Maintenance Depot in Lagos, dignitaries are present to witness the handover. This ceremony brings to 2 the number of C-130 aircraft successfully reactivated in country within the space of 1 year. While presiding over the acceptance formalities for the newly reactivated aircraft, the Chief of Air Staff expressed his delight over the successful completion of the PDM.
Our desire is to see that we are able to conduct the third one, which is NAF 918. And I believe that it is possible with the level of training our guys have received with the various teams that have been involved, external teams that have been involved in the PDM. It's very clear to us that we are building the required capacity, that Nigerians are now going to be fully involved in this maintenance, and very soon we might not have to invite anybody again.
The aviation industry is an important contributor to economic development. It has not only increased world trade activity by enabling faster and easier movement of passengers and goods, but has also provided jobs for millions of people. The Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting ARFF is a special category of firefighting that involves the response, hazard mitigation, evacuation, and possible rescue of passengers and crew of an aircraft involved in a typical airport ground emergency.
The airport is categorized into Cat 9, and by Cat 9 there are certain requirements that is involved. We are supposed to have by standard 3 major vehicles, but I can bet you right now we have about 6 major vehicles. We have about 4 stations here. In my substation I have another vehicle there, and each of these vehicles carry different capacities of water as required. By standard, the requirement for water is 23,400 liters, but I can bet you each of the vehicle. One vehicle is carrying 11,000 liters, another one 12,500 liters. By the time you multiply, what we have on wheel right now is about 60,000 liters.
The principles of safety and security, including fire coverage or protection, is critical at any airport. Fire coverage is classified from 1 to 10, and response to fire requires speed. For any emergency, the vehicle carries out a pump and roll action. Airport fire incidents can occur at any time. Ensuring that aircraft, passengers and the terminal are safe also rests on continuous training of firemen. Then to the firefighting watchroom, where aircraft operations of landing and takeoff is monitored. The office also serves as a communication hub for fire officers that aids the delivery of services.
Whenever an emergency information is received from the watchroom attendants, the first thing they do is to activate the fire alarm bell. This sends signals to the men at the bay that there is an emergency, and then that is followed by the public address system. The emergency information is relayed through the public address system, stating the location, the type of emergency. All the information will be given to the crew, and then the next thing, the crew proceeds to the location of the incident.
In here, equipment lines the space to aid the work of firemen.
This is called the 118.1 frequency. It's a monitoring frequency. So we use it to monitor information between the pilot and the control tower. Whenever an aircraft is within 10 nautical miles of the station, we can monitor the information. So in case there's any incoming or outgoing outbound aircraft that has an emergency, the watchroom attendant quickly picks it, alerts the men, and then the emergency procedure will be activated.
The mass casualty potential of an aviation emergency is high, so the speed with which emergency response equipment and personnel arrive at the scene of an emergency is of great importance. Their arrival and initial mission to secure the aircraft against all hazards, particularly fire, increases the rate of survival of both passengers and crew on board.
This is where our program comes to a close today. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Bukola Joe Ketumbi.